So we just watched The Wild Robot starring Pedro Pascal, Kit Connor, and... how do you say that main actress's name?
Lupita Nyong'o.
This movie was directed by Chris Sanders, who did How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch. It's about a super intelligent robot that crash lands on an island and is looking to find its objective. It's a helper robot and has to complete an objective. It ends up finding a baby duckling, and its objective becomes that it must raise this duckling. I knew going into it that I was going to at least enjoy it from a visual standpoint, just solely based on the trailer. The trailer is hyper dramatic. However, it's not it doesn't represent the story very well, I think, at all. That's not like a mark against the movie, but it's sort of like an expectation management. Let me talk about some of the things I didn't like about it first. I found at times the story to be a little bit uncertain of what it was trying to be, just because it sort of was really wanting to be a statement piece. What does an intelligent robot do when it finds itself in the wild? And this idea of what makes technology wild, what happens when technology truly integrates with, nature and the wilderness. But it also sort of tried to shoehorn sort of like a parenting message in there that it wasn't bad, but it personally didn't resonate very much with me. And then on top of that, it was trying to be a kid's movie, so it had a lot of like silly banter that was good, but it just sometimes didn't always feel like it was fitting, and the story just felt inconsistent in terms of what it was trying to accomplish with the characters. To talk about the things I liked about it, like I said before, first and foremost, the visuals were absolutely stunning. This was very similar to what DreamWorks did with Puss in Boots in terms of its art style. We see a little bit more of this, like when the Amazing Into the Spider-Verse, that sort of thing, where the focus is less on the realism of the animation and more on the color, the textures, the way that it's like a painting. It reminded me of Iron Giant a lot, mixed with sort of this feeling of Bambi and like Cinderella, where there was a lot of thought put into what the image was. It's sort of like every shot is a poster, every shot is a picture, and there's just so much stunning imagery in this movie that I think it's well worth seeing just for that. I think it's incredibly artistic, and it has a tremendous amount of artistic merit. So for me, it was really exciting to see, because I am finding myself having a hard time enjoying like what Pixar and mainstream sort of animation has been putting out. Not that it's bad, it's just it's falling into this like well of predictability in terms of its quality visually and style visually. And I think now, we've hit a plateau of how much we can generate realism. And so it's cool to see these sort of offshoots where we're taking it into a different, more stylized approach and seeing what else we can do with CGI. And I think this is one of those great examples, whether or not you even enjoy the story. There's a really cool kind of world building that happens in it as you sort of discover that this takes place in the future, and it drops a little bit more clues into the world, because at first it only exists with this super intelligent robot in the woods, and it builds then at the end of the movie a little bit more about the world outside of this wilderness island and the parts that the technology has played in the world. And so it becomes very like sci-fi-esque, which is really cool. So overall, this is I highly recommend it. I think you should see it in theaters personally, but otherwise it's definitely just something to watch down the road whenever it comes to, I don't know, Peacock or whoever. So yeah, I would give this definitely I'd call it like a solid like 8.5 out of 10 for sure. It's almost bordering on a 9 to me, but I needed some more time to think about it, because I don't know if it was that incredible. The visuals had a lasting impact on me as I walk out of the theater.